Meanwhile, America's hopes of returning to some semblance of a normal life this summer have been hindered by a sharp surge in the infections caused by the Delta variant of the coronavirus. The latest wave of COVID-19 infections in the United States has particularly swept up a greater number of American children, and as schools begin to reopen, the deadly variant has in fact caused a renewed anxiety for parents. The Center for Disease Control had asked for mask regulations in schools regardless of the vaccination status. Now, the Center for Disease Control has recommended universal masking for everyone in an indoor scenario for all students starting from grade 1 till grade 12, for teachers, staff, etc. The guidance has come just weeks before the fall semester, and most children at this point of time are, remember, unvaccinated against COVID-19 in the United States. But most states have left it up to the local schools to decide whether to require masks. The parents, of course, have got very mixed emotions around the guidance on masks. Some thought that the recommendation was enough, while others kept their children home in disagreement with the policy. Now, California, Louisiana, Oregon and Washington intend to require face masks for all students and teachers regardless of the vaccine status, while Arkansas, Arizona, Florida, Iowa, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas and Utah have banned mask requirements in all public schools. Now, much of the surge in new infections is concentrated in the southeastern state of Florida, where some school districts are defying an order by the Republican Governor Ron DeSantis forbidding mask mandates. And this is at a time when the state is leading the nation in the number of adults and children who've been admitted to hospitals with COVID-19. Remember, US President Joe Biden has asked the GOP governors to get out of the way of efforts to contain the virus. White House has also reiterated its concerns about some state Republican governors blocking public health efforts to contain COVID-19.
We do have concern, of course, about restrictions that are being put in place in a handful of states or have been put in place around the country that make it more difficult for localities, for schools, for businesses in some places to implement public health guidelines. And our message continues to be that if you don't want to abide by public health guidelines, don't want to use your role as leaders, elected officials, then you should get out of the way and let public health officials guide localities, schools, universities to do the right, or local schools as well, to do exactly the right thing.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden has hinted that COVID control measures could in fact get some pretty strict guidelines going ahead, since the new Delta variant is taking a needless toll across the country.
Over the past 7 months, we've cut COVID-19 deaths by 90%. As of today, 193 million Americans have gotten at least one vaccination shot, including over 70% of adults over the age of 18. 165 million Americans are now fully vaccinated. Because of our success with the vaccination effort, this new Delta variant wave of COVID-19 will be very different be able to deal with than the one that was underway when I took office. And yes, cases are going to go up before they come back down. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. I know I've said that constantly, and others have as well. The vaccination of the unvaccinated.
Now, the surge is hitting America despite fully inoculating half of its population. White House's COVID-19 data director Cyrus Shahpar tweeted the update. And yet, daily new infections, deaths and hospitalizations have risen very sharply in recent weeks. The last week, there was an average of nearly about 90,000 new cases of infections per day, with Florida and Texas accounting for a third of them. The United States is back up to around 380 COVID-19 deaths per day, with hospitalizations averaging nearly about 7,300 a day over a span of a week. And also, WION's correspondent has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report.
According to a new report by the CDC, an increase in COVID cases and hospitalizations are now being seen in all age groups across the United States. The Delta variant continues to be the predominant strain of COVID-19, representing 93% of all cases, while transmission continues to be high in more than 80 counties across the country. Death rates remain low. During the past 7 days, there has been a 43.3% increase compared to the previous week. However, a 678.6 increase from the lowest average in June 2021. It's safe to note that less than 1% of those fully vaccinated will require hospitalization or die due to the virus. Hence, the CDC continues to encourage Americans to get vaccinated. Susan Tehrani from New York for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.